Hi guys, seems like we are live now. Let me shut down this other browser so I don't see and hear myself. Well, good to see you guys. So as you probably know, this is the second time I'm going live. I was here with Emilia Gardner a while back and that was awesome. So now I'm gonna try to do it on my own. And I have a few questions from you guys lined up here that you were kind enough to put in the community tab on my channel, and there's also a whole lot of questions already out here in the chat, so that's awesome. So just a quick hello to a lot of people here. Hey Pete, hey Fafa, so a lot of people here I know. Hey Adrian from Hasta La Vista Boss, thank you for tuning in. He says he's stuck in traffic, he just wanted to type hello. That's really kind. And Pravesh, and yeah, good to see all you guys. It's awesome. So I guess I'll just dive right into it and start with a question from the community tab. So what Spar asks, what's your definition of passive income? Which is a pretty good question. So I'd say for me personally, passive income is when you can leave the site for a couple of months without having to touch it at all, and it will still generate income for you like every week and every month. So as you might know, we've done that a couple of times. We've been traveling a couple of months in Thailand and Nigeria, Kenya, the States many times. And being able to just sort of pull the plug for a couple of months, I think that's as passive as you can sort of get a website. I've been into e-commerce. I've been doing SEO consulting. I was also able to do SEO consulting abroad from Thailand for a couple of months, previously for a couple of years back. And that was also pretty passive, but of course not passive like this, only passive in the way that I could take it with me, so to speak. I guess that's not passive, that's just movable income. But yeah, so I guess that's passive income to me. I'll dive into the comments now and take one of the live questions here. Let me just get to the top. And guys, if I skip your question, it's not because I want to, just restate it because it seems like the queue here is filling up pretty quickly. So, all right, Chu Hong is asking, please share some monetization tips for a website of 30,000 monthly page views. So first, congratulations for taking your site that far. 30,000 page views is no small task. So that's pretty awesome. So of course, there's a couple of things we always want on our site. We want ads and affiliate, of course. So those are typically the first ways to monetize our sites. Since Mediavine has sort of raised the threshold to 50,000 page views now, so you cannot get in with those guys. AdThrive is also off the table because they require 100,000 page views. Ezoic is your option here, and Ezoic is a really great ad network that I use on many of my sites. I think I have 5 or 6 sites using Ezoic ads right now. And so there's that, of course. You will definitely have Ezoic ads on your site. And you'll also want now at this point to go back into Google Analytics and see which of your articles are getting some traction and some traffic at this point, and see where you can insert affiliate links. So many times I ask you to go for these underserved topics, and many times those are topics that are more informational of character and not something that's very, you can say, affiliate heavy content. It's not like it's reviews or anything like that for the most part, unless you can find some cracks and holes in there with underserved topics, and then it's just awesome and you should totally go for it. But if it's more informational type content, I would wait till I have some traffic and then go in there and see if I can sort of connect an angle to those posts and put in some affiliate links definitely at this point. And also, I mean, you can look into ClickBank. So ClickBank is one of the affiliate networks that are going hard on, or you can say that that's mostly about informational type products. So courses, ebooks, anything you can sell online, where maybe many times there'll be a recurring revenue, something like that. And so these digital products, of course, to the owner, they will make 100% from it. So they are often glad to give away 50 or 60 and sometimes 100% of it because they can do something else with that traffic in order to make money. So test out a few info products from ClickBank maybe as well. So you can do this in a couple of ways. You can just embed like sort of a banner or a piece of text into all your blog posts. There's a few plugins where you can do that. And yeah, so that's one way to go about it. And then you'll have some idea as to what type of info products you should probably create yourself down the road by testing out a few on your site. All right, let's take another one here. Sorrow is asking, my Zoic account is now paused due to invite traffic. What I need to do for bot protection? Okay, so I don't really 100% understand what's the problem here, but I guess you should just reach out to your key account manager on Zoic, because this is something they will obviously help you with. Pete Miles, I'm in and out. Good luck with your live stream. Thanks. Fafa asks, I've just started a quotes blog. The top 10 are mostly Pinterest. Does it mean it's a good keyword for a new blog? Also, how to avoid having the same content as other quote sites? Great question. I haven't had a site about quotes myself. I've done a few blog posts about quotes. I guess you can find those on Go Downsize. So I guess a lot of people would actually go to Pinterest for quotes because they are pretty visual, you can say. It's typically something people frame in a picture. It's something that's just easy to turn into an image. So maybe Pinterest is actually what people would click on. Also, since the top 10 is mostly Pinterest, I'm not sure you can beat that with a blog post. If people are just looking for quotes, going into Pinterest and just have it ordered in that way, it's just a visual search engine for pictures. It's pretty close to what people would be looking for, I assume. So yeah, I mean, test it for sure. I don't have a clear-cut answer here, but I doubt that you'll be able to beat Pinterest to it here. All right, I'll take a question from the community chat now. And this question is from Rama. How to maintain traffic? So I guess he's asking here, now you're seeing some traffic on the site. What should you do in order to maintain the traffic long term? I think that's how you phrased the question, if I remember right. So one thing you don't have to keep a consistent publishing schedule like you typically would here on YouTube, for example. I mean, your YouTube videos will typically do better if you keep editing on YouTube, but with Google search for articles and for our blog websites. I mean, I have websites that have been sitting in Google for 6-7 years that I haven't touched. I mean, I literally log in once a year just to update a few plugins and stuff, and they still make me money every month. And they are not going down in the rankings unless, of course, somebody else wrote a better piece about the same topic. So you don't need to keep at it all the time. You can definitely leave it. So coming back to how my definition of passive is, that's also why this is such an awesome business model for passive income, because you can just put it up there, leave it. And I mean, if you did a good job, if you put some distance to the competition, so to speak, if you wrote a much better article and something that people probably don't want to try to beat, let's say you really went with an awesome article there, many times it will sit there for many years, maybe 5, maybe 10 years. So I've seen that a couple of times. So let's take another question here from the chat. Columbia Frank, we are starting with putting affiliate links on our website. Do you use a plugin to manage and track those? And in fact, I do. And I think I have a video about that. I'm using a plugin called PrettyLink. And I'm using the free version. I haven't found any reason yet to upgrade it to the paid one. And there are many other plugins you can do, but it basically just lets you store all those affiliate links in one space, and then you can then you get this new link that you can put into all your articles. I've talked about this a couple of times here on the channel. So that's how I do it. Yeah, and how do you track those? Well, you can track them directly within this PrettyLink dashboard in WordPress. You can see how many times it's been clicked and so on. And for some of my sites that are really good at, I should say, some of my sites that are mainly monetized with affiliate links, I do a lot of tracking with this also inside Google Analytics. I also have a video about this, about how you can sort of connect Google Analytics to your site, so you will be able to track all your affiliate links. I do that by putting in a little word in the URL in the slug, so you will I use the Danish word because I know I'm not going to use that on any of my other links. So since I have that word in there, I know that all these links that contain this word will be an affiliate link. So it's pretty easy to point them out in Google Analytics and see how many times they were clicked, how many people I sent there, and then I can go into the affiliate network's dashboard and backend to see how many sales did I generate for that month and so on. So yeah, so there's that. Awesome. Some more people turning up here. It's awesome to see you. I should probably scroll down a little bit here because there's a lot of stuff here. So Pravesh is asking, do you check the search volume during keyword research, or do you mostly pick the keywords directly from the search suggestions or any other tools if you check the volume? So I don't really think too much about the search volume, other than, of course, I think about it, but I don't check it with keyword tools. And the reason for that is, as you heard me rant about a ton of times, I don't think too much about single keywords or a bundle of keyword. I think about topics. And if I feel like a topic is something that people in their right mind would search, then I'm glad to write about it, because very, very often those articles will bring me a ton of traffic. And I mean, you can just really many times use your common sense. And this is something you should train. You should train your brain to move away from keyword tools and to just think about what people ask this question. Is it what you can say, a normal question to ask that people who are interested in this niche would ask? And if you can find those topics, if you can see them mentioned on forums, maybe on Reddit, maybe on Quora, Yahoo Answers, whatever, if you see people talking about it and discussing this topic online, I would totally go for it, regardless of what the keyword tools tell you. So for a couple of reasons. First, of course, that you will typically rank for hundreds and sometimes many hundreds keywords and search phrases with the topic like that. Yeah, so there's that. And also because, I mean, those numbers are typically off anyway. If you find those numbers inside the keyword tools, they are only an indication of how many searches this topic might have. And in many cases, they're just totally wrong. So another question here from Vatspar. He's asking me about my course status. And yeah, so thank you for asking. Well, as you know, I've been talking about this course of mine that's coming out in November, and I'm still very much on track to do that. So I'm definitely aiming for putting it out in November. So I would say I'm probably 80 or 90% done with all the text for the course. I'm starting actually tomorrow to film the video content for the course. So I'm trying to put everything in writing and also put most of it, especially the important stuff, into video and text. So you'll sort of have it in two places in order for it to really resonate with you and for you to understand it properly. And so a little bit about the course, I would say most of it, and the big meaty part of the course, is about how to select a good niche and also how to find the best topics to write on. So I think that's the most important thing you need to think about when starting a site. So the topic research and the niche research, I've already written about 10,000 words about that, because I think that's so important. And it's also something that you guys keep asking me questions about. So that's definitely one of the major parts of the course. And then there's everything from outsourcing, how to write great content, how to beat the competition, how to bet the competition, and all that good stuff. Yeah. Revista VP is asking, what tool do you use to track your keywords? Actually, I don't track my keywords all that much. I used to back in the days. You know, I've been doing SEO for 13 or 14 years now. I used to be big on that and have hundreds and thousands of keywords tracked in all kinds of tools, but I don't do that so much anymore. So what I do instead is I keep track of how many page views I get per article. And if an article is not getting a lot of page views, then I might go back and rewrite it or do some work on it. But honestly, these days I'm putting out so much content that I'm actually not spending any time right now going back and looking after what content didn't perform so well. So this is for two reasons. One, I'm spending a lot of time on my course right now, just getting everything right. And I'm working closely with one of my oldest friends who has no idea about what I'm doing, working closely with him to educate him and get his feedback on everything in the course. So that takes a lot of time and a lot of forth and back on Skype and so on, because he's living in another country. So, and also, I mean, I'm just focusing on the traffic. I don't care about the rankings that much. I mean, if I'm ranking for 500 keywords at the middle of page 1 and it still gives me a couple of thousand pages per month, that one is a total winner, even though it's not ranking in that top position for anything of the keywords that I track. And I don't think I could find a tool that would track hundreds of keywords for me per article. So it doesn't really make all that sense in my mind. But I mean, inside Google Search Console, I can check these things. So I check it at scale. I sort for sort of, you can say, I try to come from it with this 80-20 rule. So I'll check the articles with the most impressions and the least clicks, because I know that's where there's a ton of potential and not so much traffic yet. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing. Yeah, Adrian from Hasta La Vista Boss says, sorry, my chat just totally jumped here. He said something like, no keyword tool is accurate, and that's absolutely right. Emilia Gardner, hey, thank you for joining in. She's saying to Pete Miles, several people have been talking about the Ahrefs Webmaster Tool release. I haven't had a chance to dig into it yet. I just saw that today. Also, I'm definitely going to check that out and see what they have been building inside Ahrefs. I've been using Ahrefs for many years. I don't use it all that much, but I use it for a couple of things that we can come back to. Grace Orlando, hey there. My chat here is jumping. I need to scroll over here, I guess. Every time I'm touching my mouse, the chat is just jumping like way too long. Hasta La Vista Boss is still stuck in traffic. For you. So Pete Miles, good to see you. And let's find another question here. Okay, there's a lot of conversation. I'll just take a question from the community here. iTech is asking how to fix a site where he has written on the wrong topics. So he's put a lot of content up on his site and it's not getting any traction or any traffic. So he's asking, what should he do about it? Should he leave it? Should he rewrite it, delete some of the content, and so on? And honestly, I mean, there's not a lot of brilliant options here. I've had that experience many years back when I was just getting back to a site that didn't really work all that well. So I guess you could spend some time rewriting the content in case you wanted to, or you could just try and change some of the headlines if that's a problem. Sometimes we just don't get any traffic because the headline is not enticing, or maybe it's not on point, or maybe it's phrased in a way like all the competition. So I mean, why would they click on number 4 if it's sort of the same headline as everybody else? So I would probably go in to WordPress and just click to posts and make sure that you can see all the headlines or the meta title if you're using an SEO plugin, which I'm not. But just make sure that you can see all those headlines or the meta titles, and go over all of them and try to make each and every one more enticing, and see if you can sort of angle it a little differently. So something that's, of course, still a good match with the content, but something where you think you will have a better chance in the Google search result page now that you have more knowledge about how to go at this. There's probably a couple of things you've learned since you wrote these articles. Yeah, let's scroll down a little bit here. Maybe when you have a question in the chat, maybe you can start your the little comment there by typing question, because then I'll know it's not just a conversation where you're chatting with somebody else. So please start the comment with the word question. Maybe capitalize it. That'll be really easy for me to find the questions then just moving forward. Grace Orlando says, I got stuck in choosing a niche and just gave up somehow, but I hope I can crack the code. Sorry to hear that, Grace. I hope you'll get back on track. Yeah. Benno says, what do you think about Ubersuggest as an SEO tool compared to the other tools that are much more expensive? So I've only used Ubersuggest back in the days before Neil Patel bought it. And back then it was just sort of this scrape tool that would just take out all the words that you could get from Google autocomplete. So, you know, you start typing something into Google, it would just go through all the letters in the alphabet and scrape that list for you. That's, I mean, I haven't dig too much into it since it got acquired. But I mean, if it's the same thing it's doing, it's something that I like to do manually. I like to go through the Google autocomplete to find topics manually, because to me, getting just this huge compile list of hundreds and hundreds of topics, it doesn't really work so well with my way of working, my way of thinking. I tend to skip way too quickly over good topics if it's just scraped in this huge, list that just goes on forever. I like to be able to just see 5 or 10 topics up there at the time and then go through the alphabet as I sort through these topics. It's just how my mind works. So welcome to a couple more people here. Hey, Maslin. Hey, everybody. Hey, Alexander Rivera. Good to see you. So I'm gonna just skip down a little bit here. Sorry, because there's so many here that I haven't come to. Okay, here's one that says question in the beginning. So please restate your question if you didn't type the word question in the beginning. I want to start my first website. Can I rely on just Google autocomplete for my first 100 articles? Because my budget is very low to purchase tools. Absolutely, 100%. You can do that. That's what I do for most of the topics that I use on my older sites, on my new sites, on my biggest sites, and whatnot. You can totally do that, and that's what I recommend you do. You can totally dig into keyword tools as well and sort for keyword difficulty or whatever. That's not what I'm doing. It's not what I'm recommending. I recommend that you just use Google to see what they come up with in the autocomplete and also in the people also ask feature. And then, of course, you need to turn it into a topic, so to speak. Sometimes you will find several subtopics and sort of bundle them together in a bigger topic that you can write on. Awesome. Here's Tusef Khan. He has a question. Would you recommend, it jumped again. Would you recommend manually indexing your post on Google Search Console initially when starting out? Yeah, I would do that, especially in the beginning, and I'm glad you included that in the question, because for a site like Go Downsize, it has more than 500,000 page views at this point, and Google is crawling it probably daily, if not hourly at some point. So I don't need to ask or to ping Google inside Search Console to know that I put something new out there. But for a new site, I would do that. I would go in and type this URL at the search bar at the top of Google Search Console and ask Google to actively index it, because many times Google will not find it for a couple of weeks, sometimes months. And there's been so many glitches in Google Search Console over the last year or two. So in many cases, I've seen sites not getting indexed for months, and that's just horrible. We have to wait so many months anyway. So adding a couple more months to that is just painful. So definitely go in and ask Google to index your articles when it's a new site. After you have published 50, 70, or 100 articles or whatever, keep an eye out when Google starts to index your content quickly. Within a day or two, you can just do sort of this site : your domain name, and maybe just take a phrase from the headline, some unique text from your blog post, your article, paste that into Google with these around it, and see if it pops up there. If it's not getting into Google within a couple of days or a week, I would still go into Google Search Console and ask them to actively put everything in the search index. Okay, let's look for some more questions here. Gitru, sorry, I'm definitely not saying that right, but there's a question from this guy. When I started using SEO, traffic dropped around 10 to 15%. However, site wasn't slowed down, and bounce rate didn't change. When I increased number of ads, immediately traffic spiked. Thoughts? Well, I don't think this has anything to do with the SEO. When I decreased, of course, the number of ads, immediately traffic spiked. Okay, I read it as increased the number of ads. So who knows? Maybe you had too many ads. It's definitely possible. It's something that I would work closely with SEO about. And so if you are using that plugin, they have this browser plugin to insert the ads manually, I would definitely have it reviewed from somebody at SEO to make sure that you don't have too many ads on the site. So many times the sweet spot is to go up to around 30% of the screen covered in ads, and you can just go check your site in different browsers, different devices, definitely check it on a mobile screen as well, maybe a couple of iPads or tablets or whatever, to see how it's doing. I've heard this a couple of times, this argument that Ezoic is slowing down my site, and people are fearing that they're losing traffic and rankings due to the technology. And I mean, I haven't found that to be the case with any of the sites that I've been working with and on. I mean, my own sites and people I've coached using Ezoic. So, I mean, if you think if it sort of happens exactly the same day and you change something and it bounces back, I mean, by all means, change it and work with it. But I would just reach out to the Ezoic guys, because of course they are experts on their own platform. So many times people come to me with technical questions about Ezoic and they haven't reached out to the key account manager or the support. So totally do that first, because I mean, many times they'll come back to you the same day and they will know exactly what to do. All right. Big hello also to Geek, Sap, Edward Key. Thank you for tuning in. Here's another question from Edward. What's the best way to set up your menu on a new site? All right, since it's a new site, you probably don't have a lot of articles yet. So what I like to do, just to have a menu up there so it doesn't look completely empty from the get-go, I typically put one of the what can I say, parts of the menu up there to be the front page. I wouldn't do this on an aged site where I have enough topics to put up there. But for a new site where you don't have anything to show up there, I'll probably put something like the front page, maybe put a menu point like latest articles and about page, just to have something there. And as soon as you have just a couple of articles within a category, put that category up there as well. So it quickly starts to look and feel like a real website. And of course, as you have more and more articles, and you should definitely post articles in different categories to test out the waters, just put those up there and get rid of the front page and maybe put the about page to the bottom of the page, to the footer menu or whatever, unless it's important for you to have it up there. All right. Welcome to Mick and Faridja, Hussein, Trifo, Umar. Thank you for tuning in. Here's another question. Faridja Ahmed asks, any tips on speeding up research? It takes too long to research articles to create a nice, meaty article. Yeah, so it's definitely a skill you need to learn. So, I mean, when I'm creating the outline for an article, I'm typically doing most of the research there. Because when I have all the subheadings ready and I'm off to start writing, then I mean, I'll know exactly where this article is going because I have all these subheadings, right? So when I'm finding all these subheadings, most of the time, I mean, I just use my common sense before I turn to Google. I just think about what would I want to know if I was looking for this topic. So many times you'll find stuff that you won't find inside Google if you use the Google autocomplete, and that's completely fine. If you think it's crucial, if this is something you would include in this answer or article or whatever, if this was something you were to explain to your brother, your mom, or whatever, if it's something that's important to answer this question right, put it in the article. So I guess that's about how to research the subheadings. And when it comes to the actual content without each subheading, I just turn to Google. I just Google it. And sometimes if it's a topic that I know very little and nothing about, I'll buy a couple of books about it. I mean, I did that for Animal How site that I just sold, but I've shared that a couple of times here on the channel. I actually bought 3 books about pets because I was writing about pets that I knew very little about, and I wanted to learn about them. So that was why I wanted to create that site. I had a passion so it was sort of this passion project. I wanted to write about it. And I guess I should add to what I just said before about finding these subheadings. I told you about how to use your common sense to figure out what should absolutely be in the article. But I would also use Google Autocomplete and many times forums and Quora and all these sites with user-generated content to figure out what people are asking in regards to this article, this topic. I will, of course, also include that. And then when I have all the different subheadings from using my common sense and using Google and using all these sites, I'll combine that, and then I will sort of sort them so I have the most interesting part of the article at the top. So when people land on the article, I want them to see immediately that we have epic, awesome content and we have exactly what they're looking for. So the most unique, most right on stuff I can find, I'll put that at the top. Okay, let's take the last question here from the community tab. Barry's asking, which topics should I write for in the future, and how to figure out what topics to write for on an already established site? So, I mean, at this point, if you have a website that's getting some traction, it's getting some traffic, I would typically go into Google Analytics and just see what's working. I mean, where are you getting the majority of the traffic? Which articles are doing really well? And then I'll start doing more of that. And I would also look into whatever ad network I'm working with. So since you have some traffic, you should definitely have ads on at this point. So whether it's Zoic or AdThrive or MediaMine, you can check how much money you're making per URL. I mean, per article, you can see how much money it's making you. This is something that Zoic had for a long time, something that AdThrive added half a year ago. I've been really asking them about implementing this feature over at AdThrive, and finally they did. Now you can actually see per URL how much money are you making, and also the RPM. I mean, the RPM, and that's the revenue per 1,000 page views. So how much money you're making with ads per 1,000 page views per article. So that's an important number, but that's not my main number to focus on. I want to focus on how much revenue I'm getting, because I mean, if this article over here is making me $10 per 1,000 page views, and this over here is making me $20 per 1,000 page views, but this article over here has 10 times the traffic. I mean, this one will still make me 5 times as much money as this one. So there's the traffic number and how much you're making from 1,000 page views to take into account. And that's combined, of course, in the total revenue for that article. So that's what I would focus on, and that's how I would craft my content plan moving forward. Focus on the articles that are making you the most money, and definitely try to dig into more aspects and more sub niches, you can say, within that direction. All right, time for a little sip of water. Fafa is asking a question. I have written 20 articles on keywords with 100 searches. Can I now move on to keywords with higher search volume? If not, at which stage can I move on to more competitive topics? All right, so first I want to challenge your view there. Since you said you're writing on keywords so far with 100 searches, I want to ask you how you know that, because you're probably talking about 100 searches for this keyword, as you say, but remember, your articles will rank for hundreds of keywords. So there's just no way an article will rank for exactly 100 searches. So, I mean, I would wait and see till all these articles that you've written is at least a year old if it's a new site, to see how much traffic they would actually get. But back to the question, like when can you move on to more competitive topics? Well, guess who just come over here? That's Maria.
Hello. Where's the video?
It's
over there.
There.
Hi.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird just sitting here talking to myself, but I mean, thank you for all your comments. So
well, I can hear you in there.
She can hear me. She's in the next room.
Exactly.
Yeah. See all these questions. People are really active. It's awesome.
A lot of people. That's great. He's having a lot of fun with you guys.
Yeah, totally. I talk about you guys a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah, and as you can see, we came home from our RV trip and we're back
hey, Maria,
in our
good
apartment.
To see you.
Yeah, Super Sabian, welcome. You want to answer the next question? I'll find something here you can talk about, Maria.
Oh, great.
Maria's the queen of YouTube, you know. She's got this silver play button.
Oh, yeah. You're jealous.
But I'm not making videos about how to create a YouTube channel. Care to elaborate on selling of Animal How? That's something you know about. When did that happen? I think that's the first time I've heard you mention that. What do you have to say about we just sold Animal How?
What do I have to say about it? Well, you were thinking about selling it.
Yep.
In January. And
like this upcoming January.
Yeah, exactly. So it was on the table. We knew that was kind of the plan, moving that direction, but we didn't have like a set plan, because there's the launch of the course this fall, and we just come back from traveling, so that wasn't really something we were thinking about actively. But there was this one person who wanted to buy it.
Yeah, he kept coming
and
back.
He kept coming back a few months, and then we're like, okay, well.
And I actually told him, well, I want to sell it when it's making around $1,000, and then you can buy it for $30,000. So it's a 30x multiplier, which I think is pretty reasonable for a site that's as clean. And
yeah, and then we just hit that goal earlier.
Yeah, much
and
earlier,
then we're
actually.
like, well, okay, let's just sell it because he seemed like a great guy.
Yeah. And he wanted to buy it, so that's pretty awesome. Maybe we should break something else for you guys, something I haven't shared on this channel. There's also another reason why I wanted to sell this site right now, because we actually just bought a house.
Yeah. We are becoming proper adults.
Yay!
We had a kid 4 years ago, and we bought a car, very grown up, and now we bought a freaking house.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel old.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I want to do a poll. Everyone out in the comments, how old do you think this dude is? Let me know in the comments. I want to see numbers.
I told them in a video that hasn't been released yet, so they don't know at this point.
Well, how old do you think he is? How old? How old?
Well,
do you have any comments coming in? Are you holding?
I think there's a 10-second delay, so they'll probably get. There's comments already.
50. I
34, 50, awesome. 35, 35, 33.
29,
40,
38, 40, 39.
I mean, a couple of you are spot on.
Yeah, 30. 30? He's not 30.
29. Thank you, Stephen. You're my new favorite person.
I like the 51. Santosh Umate. He says 50.
Jesse says 37. Well, I'm 39. I'm turning 40 this year. Actually, two days before
in December.
New Year's Eve.
Yeah. So now we are real adults.
Well, thank you. That was a fun thing. Maybe I should do questions like that.
To guess your age. No, just don't have them guess my age.
Just ask people to put something in the comments. Well, that also pushed all the questions quite a lot.
Yeah, you have a lot of questions to get back to. So I just want to say hi to you guys.
Yeah.
Nice to
Thank you for
kind of meet you.
Checking in.
Of course. Bye.
So I'll scroll up here and try to find the question. So Jesse's asking, care to elaborate? Oh, that's the one we just talked about, selling Animal How. Well, let me see if I have something else I want to share about selling Animal How. So as I've told you guys a couple of times in some very old videos, I want to have this portfolio of websites, and I want to sell one of the bigger sites every year and then create one new site. So that was sort of my main strategy, but it turns out I'm starting way more than one new site per year. So I'll end up having way too many sites if I don't soon start selling sites. I've been selling sites before. This is the first time I've sold a site for like something like $30,000. So that's pretty awesome. Marcos, welcome, is asking, I know consistency is important when it comes to publishing posts. I have 15 posts. Can I just publish them all at once, or should I publish every second day over the course of the month? Well, I'm sorry to say, or I'm happy to say, I think you got that wrong. The consistency of a publishing schedule is not important. It's just not. I mean, I have sites, and I think I've told you this before. I also talked a little bit about it before in this video. I have sites where I just publish a ton of content within a few days, let it sit there, brew in Google for a couple of years, and then I never touch it again. And the traffic starts coming and it stays there. So you don't need to keep publishing. There's just no reason at all to schedule it out so you will post an article every second day. The only thing I have to say about a publishing schedule, in the beginning, you should probably not just post like one article per month. I would start out with at least, I think, 10 articles for the first month. So maybe batch a little bit of articles so you can press publish within a month with those. But I mean, by all means, publish them on the same day if they're all ready. There's no need to wait. This is really fun. I'm really enjoying taking your questions. I should do this a little more going live. And I should say I wanted to go live before, but we've been living out of a camper on our RV trip for months. And I was just afraid to be out there somewhere in Germany or out in Denmark in the wilderness and have too bad of an internet connection, because many times, these campgrounds and these RV places, they would take us out in nature because that's where you want to camp out, right? That's where we want to go with the toddler and all. And many times the self-reception would just not be that awesome. So when I was on Hasta La Vista Boss, when I was visiting Adrian, and then when I was visiting Emilia Gardner's channel, and when I did that video with Emilia, I was just like, oh, I really hope that the internet will work. So that's also why I just postponed it till we got home, and that's why I'm here now. We've been home for a couple of weeks now. Yep. Marcos is asking, that's the one I just answered. Let's scroll down a bit here. And just to repeat myself, please start your comment with the word question in capital letters if you have a question, because otherwise I cannot quickly find the questions in the chat here. So Farija Ahmed is asking, any tips on unpaid SEO? Yeah, totally. So I definitely don't do this where you will have a list of synonyms and keywords that you want to include in your articles. So I do think very little about unpaid SEO compared to what I used to do. You know, I've been doing this for a long time, and back in the days, I would go crazy with unpaid SEO, and it seemed to matter a lot back in the days. Just 5-7 years ago, I mean, I would definitely go in and check the keyword density, which is how many times you would put this keyword on your site to make sure that I was ranking as well as possible for that specific keyword. I don't do that anymore. I just focus. I really try to focus as much as possible on just creating great content. Just go answer that topic in the best way possible. But that being said, when I've done so, I should say when my writers are done with an article, it's been edited, it's up there, or in the editing process, I ask my editors to at least check that the main, you can call them keywords, the main words from the topic headline will also be in at least 1 or 2 of the H2s. But since I am crafting all the subheadings for each article on my sites, I haven't outsourced the topic research yet on any of my sites. I'm not sure I ever will, but I am hesitant to say that I never will. But since I'm crafting all the subheadings for all my articles, I just make sure to include in a natural way those main words from the headline there. And I mean, since I asked them to write very much on this topic all the way, so all the subheadings within this article would be very, very closely related to the main topic and the main question or whatever, the main topic of this article. Everything in there will contain these keywords in a very natural fashion, natural manner. So I don't think too much about unpaid SEO. I don't go in and put a lot of tags for images. I know it's something people obsess over. I used to do it. I don't think it matters all that much. I mean, if you want to rank in Google images and stuff like that, you can definitely do it. I don't spend my time doing it. I mean, I get an average of, I haven't checked in a while, but I think it's around 800 or 900 page views on average for my latest 1,000 articles across my portfolio of sites. I mean, so since I'm getting that traffic, and that's 95% probably Google traffic, it's not so much Pinterest, there's no Facebook traffic or something like that. It's just good old fashioned Google traffic. Since it's doing so well, I just do what I always do. I just write the best possible content and let Google do their thing. All right, Super Saiyan. Welcome, Lamin Dabo. Thank you. You posted a lot of comments on my channel. Thank you for that. Hi, Maria. It's good to see you. You're welcome. Let's find another question. Aaron Connolly asks, what percentage of educational versus best X for Y post is recommended? So you're asking here, how much of the content should be purely educational? You can call it informational content that's not tailored toward containing affiliate links, and what articles should be about best X for Y review post, like something that you can easily monetize with affiliate links. So I don't care so much about if it's a 50-50 or whatever. I mean, I would not do a site where everything is about best X for Y. And I think if you are getting up to 50, 60, 70%, that's probably cutting it close. I wouldn't do that. But I mean, I'm way below that. I don't think so much about it. I just think about finding those underserved topics. And I would always, I mean, if I could choose between 100 topics to write on that are all underserved, I would go for topics that are more, what you can say, that has sort of a product focus of some sort. It doesn't have to be which product is best or which 10 best products for whatever. It can be how to use this product, because keeping a product focused content strategy will earn you more with ads, and it will also allow you, of course, to put in those affiliate links. So that's what I typically do. I also try to go after a few best X for Y, and since you're asking when can I start doing that, or actually you're asking how high a percentage can you write of those, I would say that it depends a lot on how old your site is, how much traffic are you seeing on the site. So if it's a new site, I would probably not start going after those unless you're really good at topic research, because many times you'll have a hard time finding underserved topics in that type of content, because I mean, everybody wants to write this best iPads for kids, whatever, or obviously that's way too competitive, but you get it. Best X for Y type stuff. Everybody wants to write that. And if you only write that type of content from the beginning, or if you write, let's say, every third article like that on a new site, you will have a longer runway with your site before it takes off, just because it's typically 9 out of 10 times, or I should say, probably say 9.9 out of 10 times, those topics are just out of our league with a new site, and with a site that's even a year or two old. For the first year or two, many times I'll just try to go after underserved topics, because it's so much easier. There's so much more traffic to get. And when you get that traffic, you will get the links eventually. And I mean, in my book, a site that's 2 years old is still a young site. And that might surprise you or disappoint you, whatever. But I mean, we're building a business here, right? At least that's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm teaching you guys to do. So a site that's 2 years old, maybe you have a couple of hundred articles, and maybe half of that content is not even ranking yet. I mean, some of my sites is 8, 10, 13 years old, and they're doing much better now with this type of content, because they will have more links, they'll have more authority, more history with Google. They know that every time they send traffic to my sites, they're doing all right, they're doing just fine. The majority of the content is performing well. That means that Google loves my sites, and they cannot trust a new site yet, in many cases, to let you rank for something that's that easy to monetize. So yeah, so there's that. We can talk more about that. So it seems like people keep guessing my age here. I guess I told you I'm 39, I'm turning 40, so I'll have a big party to throw in our new house. Let me just find another question here. I'll have to go down a little bit, and please restate your question if I jumped over it in the queue, because I mean, every time it's refreshing here, it just jumps and then I don't know where I came from. Here's a question from CC. For a new blog, when can we start targeting more competitive keywords? It's sort of the same thing. If you want to target competitive keywords, well, I mean, you can do that. And this is also something I'm talking about in my course, more in depth. It's not something I've talked a lot about here in the channel, so I get why you're asking this question. I would probably wait. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I feel like this is the wrong question to ask, because there's so many untapped possibilities with just going after unserved topics. I mean, even on Go Downsize, 9 out of 10 articles I put there are for underserved topics. It doesn't have a lot of competition because it's so easy to rank for it. Many times, even with a very well-established website like Go Downsize, when I publish an article like a week ago on an underserved topic, it will just rank in weeks because my site is so awesome. So I mean, I don't really go a lot after competitive keywords, but sometimes, of course, if you found this topic that you want to rank for because you know there's a ton of money there with affiliate, and that's probably why you're asking, because it's best X for Y, whatever, something where you know you can make it a ton of money. I mean, give it your best shot. See what's ranking up there. And if you think you can create a much better resource, I mean, go for it. But I probably wouldn't do that until you have at least 20 or 30,000 page views on your site, because you need Google to trust you at least a little bit before you can start doing that. And then I would at least double the word length, and I would really try to craft that article really well. And I wouldn't go all in on those articles. I would just do maybe a handful, see how they're doing. I mean, after 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months, go into Google Search Console, find that URL, see if it's starting to pick up some rankings on page 2 or 3 or whatever. And by all means, if you can make it rank, go for it. But it's almost impossible to say exactly when you can do it, because there's so many things that plays into this, and who understand the Google algorithms. I mean, there's just no way you could answer that like specifically. But I mean, my strategy is to go after underserved topics, and I've developed a lot of strategies for that. I just keep finding gold topics to write on that nobody wrote on. I mean, I have articles that get more than 20,000 page views per month. So even if I can only monetize many of my topics with ads, they're making me a ton of money. But I do have sites that are, I would say, 80 or 90% monetized with affiliate offers, and where, I mean, even though they're doing well with ads, they're just killing it with affiliate offers. And those are typically sites that have had several years to age in Google. So they have a lot of traffic, they have a lot of authority, and I'm just able to rank for a lot of stuff now because it's older. And I test out the waters. I try and see if I can beat this side or this side, because over time you'll get to know your main competitors in your niche. You know you're up against these 5 sites, right? So test it out. I mean, test if you can beat competitor A, B, C, and D with an article that's double the length. But be patient. I mean, you cannot know for sure unless you wait 10 or sometimes 12 months, because if you want to rank for something that somebody else wrote a pretty good article about, it just takes even longer to rank. All right, we've been going for 50 minutes now, but I really enjoy this. Let's keep going. Thank you, everybody, for chiming in here. It means a lot to me. Creative Areas asking, is it okay to have affiliate links on a website when applying to Ezoic, Mediavine, and AdFrive? Yes, that was a quickie. Charles is asking, I published 454 articles. Wow. What type of traffic numbers should I see after a year? My site is currently 5 months old. Wow, that's a lot of content in 5 months. So good job. So it's really hard to say since I haven't seen the content, but let's just do some quick calculation here. You say you have 454 articles. Let's say, I have to find my calculator here because my brain is a little fried after 52 minutes of questions. 455 articles. Let's say you're able to do what I do and get 800 page views per article. Yeah, so after a year, let's say all of these articles have had a year to rank. So that'll be a year from today. Then, I mean, if you're getting the same average numbers as I have, you'll be around 363,000 page views. And if you're doing half of what I'm doing, you would have around 180,000 page views. So, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see how great a job you've been doing with the topic research and the articles themselves. So I can say for the articles I write on my sites, this is also something I have to double check, but just from the top of my mind, I think my average article length is around 1,600, maybe 1,700 words. I would have to come back on the number, but that's what I think is the average number of words I put in my articles. And they will all have a lot of subheadings, so they're easy to, I mean, when people start skimming and skipping down to the next paragraph, their eyes will stop all the time because there's all these great subheadings to keep people engaged in the content. So, Santa in a saloon, welcome. What a great username. There's a question from this guy or girl. What are some tips for a teenager just starting to blog about amazing educational stuff? I guess you mean informational, educational, whatever. Not mainly focused on money, but it would help. But it would help if it is possible. So okay, so a couple of tips for teenagers. Maybe this is your son or daughter. Maybe you're the teenager. I mean, you're absolutely welcome here anyway. So, I mean, age doesn't matter all that much. Just figure out what motivates you, what motivates this teenager, and keep going at it. I have a video coming up pretty soon, I think in 2 weeks, about how to stay motivated. I'm going to talk in that video about how to set goals and how to celebrate. So I don't want to spoil that content. I don't want this spoiler alert here. I don't want to talk too much about that, but check out that video. It will have some good tips for you about how to keep motivated. And it doesn't matter if you're a teenager or whatever. Maybe I'm totally not answering your questions, but I mean, just keep at it, keep adding content and find something to write about that interests you or interests your teenager or whatever. Tusif Khan is asking, my rankings dropped when I added Amazon affiliate links on my 9th post. Why is that? Also, should I make the affiliate links no follow? Yes, you should make your affiliate links no follow. And I can tell you, I'm sorry, why your traffic dropped when you added that link in the 9th post on your site. Is typically not because you added an affiliate links. I mean, unless you added like 50 affiliate links in that one article, I don't think that's why it would drop. Santosh Umate is asking, what's your thoughts about solar energy blog? Well, I haven't researched on that topic. I don't know if it's competitive or not, but I'm sure there's a ton of products. I'm sure there's a lot of generators and wires and stuff that goes into that you can monetize, and I'm sure those products are pretty pricey and something people can research and buy online. So I'm pretty sure it'll do all right, do well. I think it'll do right. I think it'll do well from an ads perspective, because I think people looking to install solar panels on their roof, the RV or whatever, those are grown-ups, and those people typically have a house or a piece of property or something. So since they have that, they'll be a good demographic, because they'll probably be researching a lot of other products since they have a house. So I mean, house owners is a great demographic to target. Yeah, Gasil is asking, if an article does not rank after a year, do you leave it, delete it, or rewrite it? Well, it depends. Sometimes I'll rewrite it, sometimes I will delete it. I will probably not delete it after a year, because I have seen a couple of times that an article will eventually take off. So maybe there's some seasonality playing into it as well. Maybe something that you haven't thought about. So, I mean, give it at least a couple of years before you completely delete it. But you might go in after a year and change the headline, because that's so easy to do. See if you can make a better headline, because, I mean, it's ranking somewhere there in Google. And if it's getting you just a little bit of traffic, sometimes you can double or triple the traffic to that blog post overnight if you give it a much better headline. So that's the first thing I'll do, because that just takes a minute or two. And otherwise, if it's not doing anything for you on your site and you're quite sure that it's not going to pick up traffic, I mean, you might as well just delete it. Just make sure that if you delete it, you should redirect that article to another similar article on your site if it has any backlinks to it. So you'll need a keyword tool to check this. If you don't know if it has any backlinks, probably doesn't have any backlinks if it doesn't have any traffic, but it might. I mean, somebody might have picked it up from search or from clicking your other articles or whatever. But if you can check it, remember to check if it had any backlinks, because if you just take it off and people will now land on a 404 page, I mean, just telling Google there's nothing here, nothing to see, and people are linking to this article that's just a black hole on your site and there's nothing there, you will lose all the juice from these links. They will not work to increase the authority on your site in Google. So make sure to redirect the site if you don't know if it has any links. Question here from Mathusanka Kumara. Are you afraid of AI generated content? You know that Elon Musk has a project called OpenAI, and that software can write articles almost like a human. Well, it's something people have been talking about for ages. I mean, personally, I don't think I would ever want to read an AI generated piece of content. I mean, what AI can do today is something that actually interests me. I actually went to university and worked about I did I did study the field between computers and human interaction actually in university a couple of years back, and then I quit my studies because my business was doing too well. So this is definitely something that has a personal interest with me. So I'm following this space a little bit, and to my knowledge, we haven't seen any piece of what we can call intelligent software yet. So what a piece of software can do is to just gather all the information. There is sort of like a content mill and just throw something together that's the best, whatever. So if your content is like that, and it's absolutely stripped from any personal opinion or whatever, I mean, maybe they'll be able to do that over time. I don't think it'll be an awesome article, because remember, this software cannot think, it cannot structure it in the best way. But I mean, we'll just have to see how it will all pan out over time. I don't know. Of course, I cannot know, but I'm not afraid of it. Another question here, Hussein Crowd Hurry. My site is new, 3 months old, and I published 36 articles. Organic traffic is 150 to 170. Is that good or bad? I'd say that's pretty awesome. I mean, 170 daily page views, then you are getting close to several thousand page views per month. That's awesome. That's exactly what I'm seeing on my sites. So congratulations on that. Another question from Mix. Do you recommend moving your hosting to the country you are primarily targeting? So, as you know, I'm asking you guys to write for an American audience, but of course you could apply everything I'm teaching here to a Spanish or Swedish or whatever audience. Just make sure the audience is big enough. But if you want to target something outside the US, I would probably make sure that the site is hosted in that country. But if you're targeting US traffic, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Just go with Bluehost or whatever, Namecheap. Just start out on a cheap hosting plan with one of the major players, because they will have hosting all over the world. I mean, they will have hosting from wherever people, or I should say, what do you call these things? Data centers all over the world. So they'll probably be hosted very close to most people. Yes, so that's what I do for my sites. I have all my sites on either Bluehost or VPX. All right, we've been going for an hour now. I should probably end soon. I actually have a meeting with one of my editors in an hour, so I can't go on forever. Santa in the Saloon has another question. I just love that username. Does decorating your home and blog pages matter that much? All right, so the front page and the blog page is just decorating. I mean, the overall design of the site, does that matter that much? Do you recommend decorating it too much to keep it simple? I mean, no, probably not. I don't think the colors and what goes into it. I mean, if you're using WordPress and you're using a pretty standard theme on your site, it will look awesome just without you touching it too much. So, I mean, if you're using WordPress, it'll look better than most on the web. So I don't think it matters all that much. I would pay more attention to speed and so on, and just make sure that it's not too cluttered. Yeah. Let's see if I can grab some quick ones here. I want to challenge myself, see how quickly I can answer this one. Santos Yume is asking, I am creating a blog on renewable energy. The domain name is not knowledgeable brunch. Does name will matter much? I absolutely think the domain name matters a lot. Not so much to Google, but to the user experience. So when people are meeting your domain name there in the Google research results, you want them to want to click your article because they really trust your domain name without having ever seen it before. So there's that. I want to keep it short, just keep it on point, of course, but I also want to keep it really broad. I have a video exactly on how to choose killer domain names. So go back on my channel here and watch that. There's a Danish comment. Hi Morten, håber alt går vel. That means, hey Morten, I hope all is well. Thank you. 99 realities. Any suggestions for a site targeting B2B? So if you're targeting business customers, business to business, and not consumer on your site, well, it doesn't matter that much. Just make sure that you're targeting topics that people actually look for, and something that you feel is something you would think people search for, then it doesn't matter. But I would say in many cases, when I do a website that's targeting businesses, they will do really well with ads, because businesses spend a lot of money, and then of course there's a lot of money in business. It goes without saying. Should have this clown horn here that I have sometimes on my channel. All right. John Sweeney says, I deterred engines from crawling my site from March, but launched in mid-July. I had around 5,000 impressions since. Do you think the sandbox began when I finally unchecked the box? All right. So you asked Google basically to not crawl your site until for the first couple of months. Yes, I mean, if you put this no index tag, there's something you can do in WordPress. You can, I think it's called discourage search engines from listing your site. If you did that from the timestamp where you removed sort of that curse on your site, you will start ranking. So don't do that. Don't discourage search engines from finding your site. Okay, let's take 2 more questions and then I'll probably call it a day. Nick Blue is asking, I made a website 5 months ago, only 9 posts, and only one of my posts get all the traffic. Okay, so it's a new site, only 9 posts. My question is, since I only made 9 posts, could my website be broken in terms of momentum? You shouldn't think about this. You're overthinking it. I mean, if your site is 5 months old, your articles haven't had time enough to mature, and a site with 9 posts, it's only natural that only one of these articles will have picked up in Google by now. It's probably the oldest article that's picking up a little bit of traffic by now, so don't think about it. Keep publishing. Just keep at it and try not to check Google Analytics too much, even though I know you can't stop doing that. You will do it daily, I know it. Check Google Search Console and see and keep track of the impressions, because that will motivate you more than looking at traffic at this point. Just wait. Keep at it, because you'll be happy you did in a year from now. Okay, I guess I'll take the last question here now, because we're already at 1 hour and 7 minutes. So which one should we finish up with? Sura Reina has a question. My website is... that's pretty close to the one I just answered. Well, I guess I'd just call it a night. Thank you guys so much for checking in here. I have no idea how many people are looking here. I can't see that from here. It's 62 people at this point. I was telling Maria I was expecting around 80 people, and I guess we hit that at some point. I mean, to have 62 people after 1 hour, I'm just honored that you guys want to listen to me for that long. This is really awesome. So I guess I'll see you guys in the comments, and I will make sure to do a live video sooner than the last one. You shouldn't wait 3 or 4 months till we do another live video. So thank you guys so much for chiming in. Thank you for all your questions and all your kind words. And you're all saying thanks here now. Till next time, thank you so much. Thank you, Simply Selling, and everybody. So yeah, I'll click the end button here. See you.